and today we'll be taking a financial look at an ebook versus a traditional textbook. Our target audience are college students inside the U.S., and outside the U.S. we said high school or older, and what we're going at there is we want students that are required to purchase their own textbooks. Over here you'll see we have 3 group members in our team, Yi, Jay, and myself, David. These numbers right here represent our Colby A indexes. And Colby A was an assessment we took to assess our cognitive functions. We'll come over here, and if you need more information on that, you can visit their website. But for the time being, we'll let you know that Yi's was a 5.446, J 3.567, and myself at a 3.349. What that means is that you see J's 5 and 6 here means he is a quick starter and a follow-through, which is a really unique combination, we feel. And that means to us that Jay is able to come up with ideas as well as see those ideas through a finish. Yi, with our highest being a 5 in Fact Finder, you'll see what tasks he had following up and why we gave him those tasks. But those are our Colby indexes. Let's go over here and look at these are our individual assignments throughout this project. Yi is our lead researcher, and that directly ties into his 5 on Fact Finder there. He's a numbers guy, and that's what we need to get our research done. He'll also be in charge of our outline and our references. Jay was our idea man, we called him, because of his high number in quick start as well as follow through. He'll also be doing our executive summary and any additional writing we need. Lastly, myself, I'll be in charge of our videos, as well as our results and discussions, and finally any graphing in Excel that we'll do to tie into our results and discussions as a visual representation of what we have. Now if we come over here, we have our initial findings. And before we actually start that initial finding, I want to touch back here on the ebook versus the textbook. So in the past decade or so, we've seen an increase in the number of users of electronic textbooks or ebooks versus our more traditional hardcover, large college textbooks we have. So what does that mean, and what have we found? Well, we found that as you go to purchase an ebook, your average cost for that ebook is anywhere between 2 and 5 times cheaper than it is to buy the actual textbook itself. Also, we found, and it's more of a common knowledge, but we have research here on the amount of paper that is required and processing required to make a physical textbook. And lastly, this is our finding for convenience. Ebooks are go anywhere. You have a laptop or you have a portable device, you can take your ebook with you. Textbooks, as a lot of us know, whether we're in college or have been in college, are very heavy, very bulky, and not, you really weigh the pros and cons of when to bring your textbook. Now going with that, we have potential problems that we found already. First being when we're trying to compare two things it's tough to compare them when there's so many options. So we know with an ebook you can either rent or buy your ebook. Those are flat costs. If you buy your ebook, you'll have a PDF version normally of that book for as long as you keep track. You have a hard or a electronic digital copy of it. However, for the textbook, you can buy a hardcover or a softcover paperback textbook, and each of those there's 3 different options. You can buy a new, used, or rental textbook. So one of our first problems, like I said, was figuring out we have to isolate and pick one of each and compare those to that. Let's go to our path to completion, where we're at now and what we have to do to finish our report here. So refining our data. We have lots of numbers. And numbers are fantastic for us, but we would like to present them in a way that makes sense. So by refining our data, we mean more taking what we've got for average costs, all this convenience, these things these qualitative things we talked about, and put them into a quantitative fashion. We also are looking for student input, and that will come out later this week via a Twitter poll, and more of students around ASU's campus. What's their convenience? Would they rather have an ebook or a physical textbook? Our tech report and outline are in the process, or the outline is in the process. That needs to be finished, as well as our discussion, which ties directly into there. But this discussion can't be done until we have these 2 things too. And lastly, our final video, which will be another shorter or another short video talking about us. And lastly, we have any questions. You can feel free and tweet at me at d_clethermus, or more questions I mentioned about earlier is Colby, and it's a very, very useful for these Colby indexes that I kind of breezed over earlier. Thanks.